All right, we are recording. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for your patience. We were trying to live stream onto Facebook, but as you know, with all the traffic that's happening right now in the Facebook and social media world and the internet world, it's a little wonky. So we're recording this now. We'll get it out to you, but I am so beyond excited to be next to this beautiful person right here. And she and I met through the power of social media a few months ago through a very good friend, Chris. And both of us are in the youth sector. As you know, I'm highlighting this through INPact Academy, which is, as you know, a program where we showcase kids, people, businesses that are jumping in to make an impact in the world. And Lenita and I had the beautiful opportunity to meet because she is a life coach, a youth coach, life coach, a speaker, a trainer, a former educator, a phys ed teacher, and she lives in Sydney, Australia. So I had to wait for her. She's in the future right now. So you let us know how tomorrow is for us, okay?
It's looking bright.
I know. So it's 8 a.m. for her and 6 p.m. for us here in New York. So the reason why we wanted to come together today is because her and I have been collaborating together, as you know, as I'm starting to further build our youth coaching business here in New York, and with a bunch of our campers, and with the experience I've had as an educator, and now formally getting more into youth coaching opportunities. And I love the fact that I've had an opportunity to really speak with so many. And Lenita was the one who was that put the fire in the belly and just said, you know, there's a need for us to connect with these kids. There's a need for people to connect with teens. And there's not many youth coaches that are out there. And Lenita has just got so much experience under her belt, and she's created just some wonderful, wonderful things. So together, her and I wanted to come together to share with you, you know, how to help kids and teens during this, you know, during this really challenging time with the COVID-19 and the pandemic that's happening. So I just appreciate you so much, Lenita, and so excited for you to be on with us. So if you could give us some background. I know I talk a lot, I'm from New York, but I'm so excited to welcome you, and we're just gonna have a great time just sharing what we love, and that's the passion for kids. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, Janet. It's so good to be here. I'm really excited just to share a little bit more about my journey, and we complement one another so much. So this is going to be a really fun session. But yes, I am from the future. It's crazy. I've been working with kids for over 10 years now. So I guess to keep my story somewhat short, I began my career as a high school PE teacher. And absolutely loved working with kids. You know, growing up in high school, I was always in that peer support role. I was, you know, usually like on sporting teams in school. I was always that leader. I naturally just formed that role during school. So I wanted to work with kids, and I didn't think I wanted to become a teacher. I thought, oh, I'm not too sure if I want to stay in school. But then it just, you know, it naturally formed. I went to university and, you know, graduated as a PE teacher. And then I started to tap into different platforms. After university, I had this itch for so long to work on summer camps. You know, growing up in Australia, we wanted to, you see the movies, you know, you see like The Parent Trap, etc. You're like, oh, summer camp is just so much fun. We don't have that feel and that culture in Australia. So after university, I promised myself I'll go and get my degree first, and then I'll go and work in America. So once I graduated, the first year out, I started teaching, but then I'm like, I got to go to America and work on summer camp. So I was very fortunate to be hired at a really prestigious camp in Connecticut. Shout out to Kenwood Camp. It's a phenomenal camp out there. And I realized that I grew so much as a person, but I started to also see the personal development and well-being in kids, how important it really is, because camps really bring that out of kids. And then I came back to Australia and I started working in classrooms again. And that's when I really found that there was just a massive gap between what kids were learning in class and what they were actually learning in everyday life. So I loved the summer camp feel, and I tried to bring that into the classroom as much as I could, but I felt like I was quite limited in a classroom setting. So then I started to tap into coaching, mentoring. I started working in my local church youth group. Absolutely loved it. But then I thought to myself, I need to make a career out of this. I can't just volunteer, in the community and not get paid, because I need to obviously support myself and my family. So I just started taking all the skills I've learned from different platforms, especially from summer camp as well. And I started to just go out on my own and start coaching teenagers and supporting parents privately. And that, led me to my organization, the Wellbeing Warrior Project. And that's where I deliver one-to-one private coaching programs for teenagers. And I also speak in schools on topics of mindset and resilience. So that's my long story in a nutshell. But yeah, I absolutely love working with kids. So I literally have tapped into every platform you could think of, whether it's secular or non-secular, camps, schools, churches, etc. And yeah, that's what brings me here today.
I think it's phenomenal. And, I love the fact too that you mentioned that it was from summer camps, because I've been operating summer camps for about 15 years. And it's so true. There is this amazing dynamic that just happens with kids in camp, because you're mixing them from all over and it's giving them an opportunity to just be kids. But I'm with you. There is this gap in between the, what's taught in the school curriculum and then the life skills that are really important. And for what I've noticed myself too, is that when you tune in and tap in and turn on to their life skills, they start to light up, and it's a skill and that is just so important. And as we're starting to unleash this more and tap into this more with the kids, they're hungry for it. They want, the kids nowadays want to make that impact. They want to have a positive mindset. They're getting hit in a lot of different directions. So to have supporters out there that can show them how to, manage a positive mindset, how to be resilient, how to build their confidence, how to communicate, how to, make friends, and, and have good sportsmanship and be a leader or be a follower or find your passion, whatever it is. There is so much that's out there, and, there's so much need for it. So how do you, link arms with somebody all the way across the world who has the same passions and the same desires, and you're just such a beautiful, beautiful person. And I love everything that you're doing with that. So, what can we do right now for our parents to help support, the kids? This is new for all of us. So all of us are dealing with the stresses of homeschooling, parents, and families who are, perhaps being overcome by illness or job loss, or even death in the family, where there's a lot of stress in the home, and the kids are feeling it too, whatever their age is. So what would you recommend right now that we could do, or that you've been doing to help kids cope and help parents help their kids to cope?
Yeah, definitely. Such a good question. And you mentioned something earlier in terms of that there is a need for this. And with that, there has been a craving for personal development in young kids for so many years. I feel like these times have just highlighted where the gaps actually are. And, it is such a tough, difficult time, but it has started the conversation for us to start talking about these are the issues that we've been talking about as leaders for a very long time, Janet. But I think this situation has really highlighted that we need to start talking about the mental health and well-being and personal growth in teenagers, because they're craving it. And something that I've learned from my experience is they want more of our support, and they're willing to talk and express themselves. But us leaders, whether we're coaches, speakers, or parents, we just need to make it very clear to these kids that we see them and we hear them. Because kids crave, that love. They just want to be seen. They just want to be heard. You don't have to have all the right answers on the spot. You just need to be as present as you can. And that's hard too, because we're going through certain times as well as adults. But we just need to be present for these kids, because when you make them feel safe and comfortable, they will lead you as well as the leader. They will tell you what they need. But we just need to be present, as much as we can. And it's difficult, but that's as basic as it can be for us leaders, parents, etc.
I think it's so true. And I think that there's so many people as they get older that parents will say, oh, I wish I had this back then. Oh, I wish that they did this in the schools. Oh, I wish, as they're hearing about all the things that we're doing. And it's so true. We spend a lot of, a lot of time on personal hygiene, right? We make sure that we shower maybe daily, or that we're brushing our teeth, we're washing our clothes, but very rarely do we really focus on teaching kids how to wash their mind and how to have good daily hygiene for their mindset, and not really understanding the tools that are there. But this stuff, this slushy stuff between our heads, tuned into our emotions too, it really creates a whole world of mindset and well-being, that kids need to learn about. And it's just, there's so many wonderful things that we can do. And I know when I've been talking with kids too, they just, when you just share with them doing mirror talk activities, or setting up a daily schedule, which is something that is really helpful, a great morning routine, and certain things to just make them feel good about themselves, to set their mind into how to get from a crappy state to a happy state in a matter of a second, with powers of gratitude. And it's so true. And one thing too, and I know I'm kind of jumping all over because I'm New York, and I'm just so excited to talk with you, but kids also love to express what they're doing. I did an interview last week with a 14-year-old who is an amazing artist. So she's using this time during COVID-19 to capture her daily feelings and her daily emotions during quarantine, and drawing a beautiful picture or a picture about it. And that's her diary. That's going to be her her document that she's going to be able to look back on years from now to say, how did I handle COVID-19? How did I show up? What was my family dynamic like? And really have that piece of material, which I thought was like a really cool project to do with kids. So I found that to be as a helpful tool, even writing a letter to COVID-19 about the goodness that has come out of it, or as a family activity to do. So I know that I love what you said, that kids want to be heard. And that is so important, because so many of them, it's just like, they just want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to know that they matter. And so I think, would you agree that it's helpful to like ask kids to help be a part of the solution, sitting down with the family and finding out, what is happening, and talking about it, and not trying to hide from it, and how maybe the kids, instead of throwing chores at them, we can ask them for their help in meal prep or cleaning or doing those kind of things. Do you have any other recommendations from the kids that you've talked to on how they're helping out their family dynamic?
Yeah, definitely. When you give an element of responsibility to a teenager or a young child, they will rise and meet you halfway. Depending on how often you do this, if you really give a little bit of autonomy over to them, they will deliver. Whether I've witnessed in my family or the kids that I work with, they are craving that responsibility. But when you suffocate them to an extent, and you try to just be that helicopter parent all the time and just do everything for them, you're actually really crippling them than actually strengthening them. So and I would know that too, as a daughter myself growing up in my household. So the biggest thing is to facilitate that conversation and actually ask them, what can we do, and just bring them into the conversation. Not all the time, of course, because we need to make sure we are the leaders and we are directing them. But sometimes they do actually have tremendous ideas. We just need to sit down for that 5 minutes a day at least, and just have that conversation, start the conversation. But really importantly, trust yourself to start that conversation, because a lot of adults, they are so nervous or feel awkward to have deep, meaningful conversations with their own kids, or with the kids that they're leading in external platforms. You just need to ask that question, or ask for their advice, and let them do the talking. Just really practice that listening from, with empathy and with compassion, and just let them talk. And then just trust yourself to go off that conversation. So there's not really like a direct way on, having those answers. There's no actual real answer to this, but you just need to trust yourself to hold the space for the child. Hold space for the kid, let them talk, let them express themselves, and then trust yourself to counteract that. But that's the hard part, trusting yourself to facilitate the conversation, because you just don't know what they're going to say. and that's sometimes scary.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing too, is when you create an environment at home where they feel comfortable to say what they want to say. Um, always, with respect in mind, and letting them know that it's okay to have these emotions, and always letting them know that it's okay to talk about those emotions. But how can we get past, if it's a negative emotion, moving towards a positive emotion, or a way to get through it? Because the kids, this is a really amazing training ground for them to really handle any obstacle that's going to come their way. And there are obstacles that are going to come their way every day. So for them to develop skills on how to overcome obstacles, what would be some points that you would highlight when talking with your teens about, you're faced with X, how do you get to Y, and what are the pieces in between to get the outcome that you are kind of looking for?
Yeah, great question. I love this so much because I always say that, life is tough, but you are tough as well. You can really, success does not come without hardship or challenges. You really need to accept that this is life, but it's the coping skills that really will set you apart from everyone else. So you really have to ensure that we need to face these tough times, but we need to learn how to overcome them, and that starts within. So in terms of building resilience in your children, your own kids, the young adults or the young teenagers that you're leading right now, there are certain ways on how to build resilience within yourself and these kids. And I have this tough model that I deliver for the kids. And it's a 5-step resilience hack. And the first one is to really be thankful for your life. In times of hardship, life attracts life. So if you keep, complaining about what's going on in the news, you play the victim, you have this scarcity mindset, you're exposing your kids to all this negativity, they are obviously going to starting their day, and they're going to go day to day in this negative mindset, and life attracts life. So we really need to ensure that we're filling their minds with positivity as much as we can, and less about the wrong things that are happening in life. So the biggest thing the most practical way on how to do this is to practice gratitude. So being thankful for what you have, really helping them learn how to express gratitude. That might be through prayer, that might be through gratitude lists, that might be through music or journaling. We really need to find what works for the child. But practicing 5 minutes a day with gratitude will move mountains for a young kid. Going out for a walk in the afternoon, watching the sunset, and actually asking your kids, what were 3 things you're actually grateful for today? And I do this with my family as well, my little cousins in the family, and they respond really well. It's not just about looking good on paper, but these kids will actually respond if you ask them, give me 3 things you're grateful for today, and build that muscle every day, and it'll just really, really enhance their mindset. So number 1, being thankful for what you have, in terms of obviously practicing gratitude. The next one is, being optimistic about your life. So with this is just to practice that positive self-talk. How can we instill positive thoughts, once again, flowing on from gratitude, in their everyday life? Because a lot of kids will start to complain, well, it's tough at home. Why is this happening to me? Why is this environment so negative? And then they just start to really, really be so down on themselves. So being optimistic about your life is just that positive self-talk. And we can do this through affirmations, helping kids establish those I am statements. I am loved. I am enough. I am worthy. And put them in your homes, whether that's on your bathroom mirror, their bedroom side table. I personally change my alarm message to I am enough. So that's the first thing I wake up in the morning to when I turn off my alarm. There's little hacks, and exposing your kids to this early on in the home will move mountains for the whole household. So that's the next one, practicing positive self-talk. The next one will be understanding your why. So as a family, or as a team, what's the real purpose here? Because coronavirus times will get better. Things will happen like this in life, but we really need to understand why we're here right now. What's the ultimate purpose? What's the blessing behind this? And we really need to help kids establish their true purpose in life, and that's so hard. So we need to, how do we get practical with that? What gives us the most passion? What gives us the most energy? And focus our attention on that as much as we can in the home. Facilitating those creative outlets for the kids, taking them outside for health and fitness, cooking, etc., bringing in their gifts and talents in the home, you know, as much as you can, because school is taking a lot of pressure right now with a lot of kids. So that's another way to facilitate that resilience, enhance the resilience in young children. And my favorite one is giving to others. When your kids feel down, help them show compassion to other people, especially the elderly in today's society. Help them, you know, show random acts of kindness in any way they can, by writing letters, by sending out text messages, making phone calls, Zoom calls, etc., leaving a nice gift on the neighbor's doorstep, because that's going to enhance those positive endorphins, you know, dopamine hits in children, and that's going to really help them, you know, be in that really positive state of mind. They're going to feel really good with that. So giving to others is another way to enhance resilience during this time. And lastly is hacking your lifestyle with positive habits, healthy habits. You know, get back to the basics. We have time now to, you know, work on our health, work on our fitness, our faith, etc. So when you lead, they will follow. And so we need to just help kids get back to the basics, making their bed at home, getting out of their pajamas by, you know, a certain time in the morning, eating breakfast, etc. And you'll see those little steps will just once again move mountains for kids. So they're just 5 different examples on how to really strengthen your kids right now at home, and obviously, you know, when they do go back to school, etc. But remember, guys, like, success does not come without hardship, and we're in that time right now. But this is where most of the leaders will form. They form during difficult times. They form during times of adversity. So it's honestly such a blessing in disguise. But we really need to rise up and, yeah, instill these resilience hacks for our kids.
I agree with you, like 10,000 million% too. And it's so true. And just think about, as you're doing this, think about the family dynamic now that's making this shift. And that's what I see what I see this pandemic is that an opportunity for families to reconnect, to rejoin, to shift, to bring back their values, to talk about it, to get some extra sleep that kids, you know, need so desperately. Our teens need so much sleep. So giving them an opportunity too, it's, you know, it's just because they're not going to school and they have an online school doesn't mean they can stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning, right? A schedule is still very important. And I love what you said about, you know, serving others and how, you know, ways that we could do this, being socially connected yet physically disconnected, I call it. And one of the programs I think I've told you about too is being the drip that rips and not the drop that plops. Is that, you know, really is showing up and doing like random acts of kindness, creating that drip and ripple effect of awesomeness, because as you do it, more and more of those ripples will be created, because people, it'll just be a way of how you do things and how you show up. And I just think that is just, you know, so unbelievable to do that. And kids do like to serve. They thrive on it. So when you give them those opportunities to do that, I have another kid who was actually interviewed at a local newspaper, and he's part of a program that I know that works with special needs kids and teaches them DJing and videography and all this other stuff. Well, he sets up in his driveway a DJ setup, and he plays music for his neighborhood. And then everybody comes out on their front lawn. So this teenage, you know, boy who's, you know, he's actually autistic and gets on the front lawn and plays music, and everybody starts dancing. And I mean, it's just beautiful. And there's just more and more and more ways of that. So there's, another thing too that some kids have been doing is painting rocks, like beautiful bright colored rocks with beautiful words or sayings on them. And then as they go out for their walks in the neighborhood or to a park, 6 feet safe apart, you know, leaving these rocks around for people to find. And what a beautiful sentiment during this time to get the whole world connected, to focus on that which is good, that which we can, and not that which we can't or that which is not, you know. So I think that's just so beautiful. So we tapped into so much of that stuff about talking about it, and the healthy habits, like you said. You know, again, one thing just that I notice even in my own home that I wanted to just bring up to, you know, for parents, is that be very mindful of how you're showing up too. And we understand the stress that you have as well as parents, but be very mindful, like Lenita was saying too, about the news on the TV or some of the discussions you have, because you have very adult conversations or opinions of things. Well, our kids, even though they may be 2 floors up, 2 floors down, or in another room, or you think they're sleeping or not listening, they are sponges. Their ears are this big. And I think it's just really careful, because they might not react to it to you, but they're absorbing it. And I think that kind of could well up inside of them, and then kind of, come out later on or with their opinions. So I think it's really great to have healthy conversations about opinions of certain things, but just to be mindful of it, because when they get it raises their emotions and it raises their stress, more so too, because now not only are they worried for themselves, they're worried about mommy and daddy, and what's going to happen to me if mommy and daddy aren't here, and it really opens up a whole can of worms. So I think it's a really good time to really solidify that family unit and talk about being stressed, talking about, what, you're going to have a really crappy day and it's okay, but how can we make the next moment count, and the next the next moment matter. um, so is
Yeah,
there
definitely,
is
definitely.
there
I'd love to say something in terms of that, because I witness it all the time, especially in my family as well. It's kids witness so much more than you think. They are listening to conversations. They know what's going on, and they are your number one witness. So if you feel like you just don't know where to begin with helping your children thrive during this time, start within for yourself as a parent or a leader. Because they are your witness. They will model your behaviors, your thoughts, your words, etc. Whatever you are doing for your life, if you really want to set up your children for success, is be an active practitioner. Really invest in your health, invest in your faith, invest in your finances, etc. And your kids will follow, because they're witnessing everything. So when you tell kids, for example, to take care of their health, but you are not doing that for yourself, that message will not stick, because they can see that you're not doing that for yourself. So why would they take that message seriously? And I always come from a daughter's perspective, or a leadership perspective when I'm talking to parents, because we were all children once, and we witness. We know when it's BS or when it's not. It's to be quite respectful to, as much as I can. You
Mm.
can't fake it with these children, because they will call you out. So it doesn't matter how young you are. If you really want to just powerfully show up, you need to make sure that you are walking the talk as well, and not just throwing out words to them, but especially facilitating those positive conversations, and show them how to live. Don't just tell them how to live, because they can just Google anything else. And we don't want them Googling. We want them to come to us.
Yes, 1,000%. And that's another thing that was important, is that what our goal is for all of our parents too, is really be that additional messenger to aid the message in your home. And one thing that I've found too is that, often kids, especially teenagers, will open up to yourself, myself, other youth coaches and leaders, because they're not in the classroom, or they're not in the school. They're not one of the parents. It's not somebody that they know. And sometimes they just like to have somebody in their pocket that has their back, and have tell me more about your experiences with with the coaching and and how receptive it's been, and how the parents have been receiving it, and are and their role in that too, with the one-on-one coaching that you do.
Yeah, definitely. So, um, I guess the way it started for me was parents were craving additional support, and once again, I was quite limited in the classroom setting, so I always had to hand over the incidents to executives in the certain systems that I was in. But I found that parents just wanted more premium one-to-one, so that was the kind of starting point for the coaching for me. And parents receive it really, really well. At first, if they don't hear about the coaching, of course, we need to talk more about what that actually entails. But the parents love that, because it aids a bit of pressure off them too. A lot of parents that are open to the coaching, they realize that it's just going to give their child an advantage in life. That additional source of mentorship and a coach really sets them up. So Yeah, it's definitely well received by the parents. The kids really want it, especially when they resonate with a leader, and really want to kind of feel safe to facilitate those conversations. Coaching is just that additional that additional strategy that you can embed in a child's life, because they really just need more premium one-to-one support with their mental health and well-being. And it doesn't always have to feel like it has to come from the home. There's a certain foundation, of course, that's set in stone, but sometimes the kid just needs to hear the same message, just delivered a little bit differently, and that message will stick. And there's no shame in that. Parents feel like, they don't have to have the whole pressure on their shoulders. You can ask for help. And when parents really open up and acknowledge that, they will see how much we can help them as coaches as well, and how much their children will grow with us.
I think it's so important, and even in the parents that I've been talking to, in at least in the United States or in New York, where I can talk for New York, is parents are very quick to, Johnny is having trouble in math, they get him a tutor in math. Susie is having trouble in whatever subject, or we get them or they need soccer they need additional soccer skills training, and to really help them in those regards. But when you invest also in a coach, you're helping build that other piece. Again, it's that other piece that's not being offered in some of these other things, that just could be that switch that just flicks them, that is just the thing that they need, that will then advance them by helping them along with their schedules for their creating their study habits, or their confidence when they're on that soccer field and ready to score the goal, and building their confidence to do so. The strategies that they can put A, B, and Z in place to tap into their creativity and what excites them and how they can grow, and their presentation skills for when they're going to present their science fair project. Yeah, like there's so much to it that is just that little extra, sometimes a big extra, but sometimes just that little extra boost. That's
Yeah.
just the thing that your kid needs to like flip from that shy, withdrawn, unsure of person to perhaps a shining star in the making, as they're coming into their own as a butterfly.
Yeah, definitely, because there is a stigma around mental health, and a lot of people, they think that their child may need a psychologist or a counselor. And I get that. There is a place for there is a place for that. With us coaches, we do not focus on, emotions from past events, or a formal diagnosis. We're just here to set in stone where they want to head, and we are that vehicle to help them get from point A to point B. And we really just we're their mirror, and we instill a lot of confidence and practical action steps to apply to their life. And when you enhance the mindset and confidence in a young child, they will really rise up once again, and they will actually start taking ownership of their life too, and that responsibility. And so, 90% of my teenagers that I coach, a lot of them came to me after they tried a psychologist and a counselor. And obviously, they do hesitate because they feel like there's something wrong with them. There doesn't have to be anything wrong. We're just here to complement what is already in the child. We're here to bring out what's in their mindset and their heart. We just want to bring that to life for them, and we help them through these action steps. So that's the difference between coaching and counseling. We really just focus on moving forward. And once again, like as you said, like we just need to give them that boost and really focus on that emotional intelligence with a kid, and boost their confidence. They just need that kick, and trust your child too. But sometimes they just they're not resonating with the message in school or in home, and that's okay. There's no shame in that. So let us coaches complement that for you and take that pressure off you, because we're phenomenal at what we do. We just need to obviously, meet more parents and talk more about this. But yeah, it's definitely on offer. And from what I've witnessed, I've had teenagers that have been very stressed and anxious, have been placed on medication, etc. And when we just facilitate those personal conversations, and we help with those mindset hacks, those practical action steps, those systems in place in the home, etc., you realize how simple it is for them to just believe in themselves, and really thrive in academics, thrive in relationships by just getting the basics right in their life. And yeah, I just think, we talk about that we wish we had this when we were younger. We have this now, so let's give this to our children instead of saying, oh, I wish I had this. We need to really facilitate this change instead of talking about, well, I wish this was in place. And yeah, it's in place now. So there are coaches now all over the world, myself, that are coaching teenagers, and parents just need to take advantage of that as quickly as they can.
I know. So a lot of people run the opposite direction when a teen starts coming. We're like, no, we love them, we love them, and it's so true. And that's the joyous part too. And I think that's what drives us, and all the coaches they're really starting to come out of the woodwork. And there's just such phenomenal people who are leading with their heart. And that's really, in order to be a really successful coach, you have to have a passion and desire and the heart to want to work with the kids. And when you see a child that just gets lit up from the inside, you're just like, it's priceless. Like, it's just, and the parents see it. And, when you get a phone call from a parent that's just like, I can't believe it. My child woke up in the morning and they came downstairs and they were like happy and said good morning. And that could be such a little thing, but such a huge thing in some families. And there's just so much to it that's so wonderful. And I think I'm so grateful for us to have this conversation, because it is not something that it's, well known that this opportunities are available for parents as an added resource. And I think it's really, really beautiful. And the fact that here I've met somebody in Australia that's doing it. And literally, Lenita, I am so honored to be a colleague of yours too, because the fact that, together you're helping all of us connect to create this movement, to support, elevate, love, excite, unite kids and teams, because this is what happens. They're then the future. So think about it, as we're supporting them through this, coping in crisis, what they will now be able to do because of the skills and the muscle that they've developed with the support that they've received, to then pass that forward, pay that forward, show up, a new way to help someone else that might be needing some relief from some of the anxiety that they're feeling, to reframe some of their language so that, it's shifting their mindset. So I just bless you so much. And I'm just so grateful that we've connected and that we'll have a lifelong relationship now.
Exactly. Part of the family now. But no, I'm so thankful. And, it's just such an important conversation to have, because schools have a place and they are teaching to academic outcomes. But please, parents, leaders, do not rely on schools to enhance the mental health and well-being. That starts within the home, and that starts within, forming those connections with like-minded leaders, because teachers do not have the time to just have one-to-one customized support for your child when it comes to their mental health. This is why coaches thrive, because we're giving customized support specifically for your child, whether that's mental health, whether that's confidence, anxiety, sports, etc. We're really just giving you a custom plan. And you can't get that anywhere else. You can't get that in the school setting. So, shout out to the educators. They are doing a phenomenal role in schools, but their role is to teach to academic outcomes, and we have to respect that. But where we come in, you and I, Janet, is we're filling in those gaps when it comes to that personal well-being. And we need to help parents out too, because why wouldn't we? We had that leader in our life that didn't give up on us. We had that parent that set us up for success. So now we feel like we just want to give back as well to the kids and to the families. So we just want parents to let us do that and give us a bit of autonomy and work with your children, because we know it will move mountains for them, just like it did for you and I when we were younger. So yeah, definitely, I think don't rely on schools. Schools have one particular role. The personal development, personal growth, this is where the coaching is thriving. And yeah, who wouldn't want one-to-one customized support for kids? I think it's phenomenal, and it's getting incredible results for my teenage clients. And yeah, I just think more people need to get on board with that.
Yeah, and it's just a beautiful relationship that's formed. And like I said, and it's true when you see them thrive, and definitely too, both of us, have spoken in schools and look to do more of that. So it's a great way to formulate partnerships with schools to help support them too, going into the school and speaking. Both of us have been asked to speak in front of large groups, and something that we both love to do. So that's just an added benefit or piece to being able to touch a lot of kids in one element in an assembly, and talk and get to meet the teachers in your districts, which is really great. But then this way they know that they really do have somebody in their back pocket, with the coaches, the youth coaches that are around to really help support them. And I think that's just an added bonus and such a win-win to the betterment of the kids. And that's what it's all about. As the parents, educators, and all of us, the coaches, even the sports coaches, all just work together to make our kids shine. That's my goal. I want every single kid, wherever you live in the world, because it's, kids are universal. Their energy, their inquisitiveness, their smile is a universal hello, no matter what the language is. So, I want every single kid to understand and realize their awesomeness. Because they're freaking awesome, and like when you let them just play and you let them and you expose, now I'm getting all crazy, you expose them to these things. I mean, it's magic. And I think that's why summer camps is something that hit your heart, and it's something that hit my heart, because you'll see a kid that comes into your program who sat alone at the lunch table, who all of a sudden comes to your program, and then all of a sudden they're an MVP. And everybody wants to sit with them at the lunch table. And then, because you've given them opportunities to grow. And it's just, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's just so beautiful.
And it just takes that one leader, that one conversation, that one additional strategy in the home. You might be just that one strategy away from really shifting the life of your child. You might be that one mentor away from really elevating your life. You could be so close. If the parents or the leaders that are listening to this session, you might be just so close to the gold right now. And if you give up, you'll never reach that, So we don't want you to give up. If you feel like you're struggling at home with your kids, or you just don't know what to do next, you have the resource of teen coaches now. You have the resource of Janet. For my audience, you have the resources of with me, myself as well. And I think we just need to acknowledge that there's no shame in reaching out for help. We're here to help in any way that we can, and just start the conversation. And yeah, I think, if I could thrive as a kid with all the setbacks that I had on paper, there is no excuse as to why another kid or another family can't as well. And I guess from my background, I grew up with divorced parents, so it was always hard in certain areas of the home, but my family were always so loving, and they just showed up. My mother was always present, and that's all it took. That's all it took for me to really just acknowledge that I am loved, I am worthy, and I do deserve success. And we just need to instill that in the kids, and they will level up. Even when the odds are stacked up against them, they will level up, but you need to just make sure they know how much they're loved, they know how much they're worthy, and they'll take care of the rest. And I speak from just a child's perspective. As a teenager, everything I share with kids today, I did that as a kid. I did that as a teenager. I didn't do it as an adult, and then I'm like, this is what you do. I show them what I did as a kid. So if I can do that as a child, there's no excuse for everyone else. They can definitely do that too.
Right. And there's so many different family dynamics out there, and there's never one perfect mold or one perfect situation. There's just the kids, and how we can help them shine and get through whatever situation that they're in, so that they can thrive. Do you have one last golden nugget? Because I know we're coming up to the end of our time, but do you have one last golden nugget to say? I mean, you have dropped like 1,000 mics already today. And I'm so grateful for that. But it's been such a pleasure to talk. And what we've done is we've recorded this so that we could, I know it's a little bit long, but there was just so much information to share. And with any one of us, I'm going to post, Lenita's information as well. If you want to reach out to her or myself, or help you in any way, that's what we're here here for is we want to be a resource to you, to the parents, to the educators, and let you know that we're just here. We've got your back, and we'd love for you to be in our pocket.
Oh, definitely. And if I could leave on, and thank you so much, Jenna, for having me. And if I could leave on one note, it's, to the parents, the leaders, the educators that are listening to this, we see you as well. We're here for the kids, but we see you, we hear you. And as Janet said, we've got your back, and you don't have to do this alone. Reach out for help, get that additional strategy or that mentor to help you out and your child. But just remember, you're doing a phenomenal role. Don't be too hard on yourself. There is no book that teaches you parenting. There is no university degree that gets you a qualified parent. You guys were just, working through this day by day and just really doing your best. And I commend you on that as well. And just remember, we see you, we're here for you, and we're just waiting for you guys to reach out.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll continue to throw the net out, right, to let you know that we're here. So I appreciate you so much. I know your day is just beginning. My day is going to start ending here in New York, and you in Australia. But God, bless you, and thank you so much for your time. And we'll get this up on replay, and I'm sure that we will be together again. To chat some more as we continue to grow some more content together and share some more platinum nuggets, I'll call it, not golden nuggets. Platinum.
I love it. I love it. No, of course. Thank you so much, Jenna. God bless you and your movement that you're building as well. And definitely we'll catch up very soon.
Mwah. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Be well.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.